So this is Sales and Marketing, Stop Hating, Start Loving. Jon's worked in sales for 30 years and launched his first e-commerce website back in 1999. A long time before I was born, so that makes me feel young. For the last 25 years, he's grown his clients' businesses using SEO plus better content, better processes, and better technology. And I don't have to read the script for this one. I asked Jon for an interesting fact before we started. He once sheared 58 sheep in one day, which is mind-boggling. Jon, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. Oh, thank you, Sean. Sean's one of those people who obviously was born quite recently, which always makes me a little bit worried, and is just so competent and confident. Can we give him a big hand for running this thing? I couldn't have been as switched on as this guy is at his age. I was doing far too many drugs, which I do recommend, but not when I was shearing 58 sheep in a day, and that included 3 rams. At the time, I weighed 8.5 stone, and the rams weighed approximately 17 to 25 stone. So, yeah, it was pretty good going. My boss on that day, it was a lovely warm day, so the lanolin, the wax, don't you? The wax that sits against the sheep's skin to keep it waterproof. That had lifted because it was such a lovely hot day, so the shearing clippers were going really fast underneath that against the skin. He did 212. So, yeah. And some of those were Dorset poles, which, again, as you know, they've got skin like paper. You have to be really careful. And this was in the UK. In New Zealand or Australia, we got to cut those things to shreds. No one cares. But in the UK, we care about our sheep. And so, yeah, we did a great job. I did 58, including rams. My boss did 212. Great days. Did anyone come for was it the shearing talk I'm doing? That's, yeah. Let's see if I'm fucking desperately filling. Why doesn't it just do that? Oh, there you go. Look at that. Okay. Is it showing a thing? Yeah. Cool. Okay, so this is sales and marketing. Stop hating, start loving. I've also not had caffeine for 3 months, and I've had 2 cups of tea this morning. So like a nana, I am absolutely off my tits. No, I'm gonna use the mic because then I won't shout at you. Okay, this all seems to work. I'm going to unplug this, actually. Go crazy. And plug it in here. And then I've got a clicker. Right. 10:55. Okay. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about... am I blocking the screen for you? To be honest, it's just photos and GIFs, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to be talking about how we can make sales and marketing work together a bit more cohesively, and that's something I've been doing for a long time. Can I get a show of hands now that Chris has really energised us? I would like to see who works in an organisation that is mainly B2B. Hands up, business to business. Okay, so most of us. So can I see show of hands for B2C then, or D2C, direct to consumer? Anybody got that? If you're thinking of doing direct to consumer, Andy, who's talking this afternoon, Andy Jarvis, he's a specialist at helping people move from B2B to D2C, so he's worth listening to and talking to. Also forgot to take the old blood pressure meds. They're in the pocket here, so I'll need to do that in a minute. Where were we? Right, okay. Sales, stop hating, start loving. This is really good for B2B, and if you're selling B2C, if it's a protracted sales cycle. So if you sell socks right now, this talk, I can help you because we can do this for e-commerce, but if you sell socks and fast-moving consumer goods, this talk might not be absolutely perfect for you. This is for stuff where it takes probably a week to 2 years to sell. So most B2B services and products, that's kind of standard, and there's a big buying group, but if you're selling socks or fridges, there isn't necessarily such a big buying group, although if you heard the arguments in my house about buying a fridge, you'd be amazed. But if you deploy some of the things that I'm going to share with you, you should see a conservatively, 20% increase in revenue for no cost. No extra ads, no extra employees. In fact, I've worked for a couple of companies where I hate to say this, we cut whole departments and still increased the revenue. That's not why we were there, but when you're in a business, often you'll find that when you start people working correctly with the right processes and right technology, you realise that a lot of those people weren't doing a great job and they weren't paying for themselves. So you shouldn't have to spend any more. In fact, you may save money. I don't want to cut whole departments. I sold my business a month or two ago. Stop applauding. And so I'm now unemployed, so I don't want to put anybody else in this position. Very good. You're all focused like... does anyone know who this is? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
No. Close. Hope Solo, US goalkeeper. Close. Right? You're frowning. Okay, phew. I'm like that, or maybe it isn't. Known for her focus, and you are all really focused. Please feel free to make notes. You can, but because I quite like people to look at me with the focus that Hope is, I would, and also concentrate. If you take a photo of that QR code, it'll be on again at the end, or you can scan it. It'll take you to a form where you will get a copy of these slides and the notes I used to prepare them, which, I mean, I'll have edited them because it won't say a great deal about sheep shearing. But yeah, it will give you everything you need because there's some really boring bullet pointy bits because when I do these talks, I want to make sure that we're giving you practical stuff that you can go away and do rather than go, yeah, so if you align everything, hey, profit. Okay, any questions? If you like it, there's not another one of these. In January, I have some slots to come out and do some revenue optimization workshops. Primarily for B2B, but in a story I'll tell you in a minute, we've done this for e-commerce as well. It's the precursor to employing me for a couple of days a month. So if you're desperate to spend some money, there's your opportunity. And can I recommend you do it now? Because you might hear other people where you spend the money later. So just mentally put this budget in for 2024 for yourselves. Okay, end of advert. So let's get to the important bit. So doing this stuff, Pete Brace, I can't remember his surname. He's on late this afternoon. Pete Bracegirdle, maybe? Bracegirdle. Wow, that's got some scaffolding in it. Pete Bracegirdle and I were talking this morning about how there's no new ideas in this stuff. Everything is really simple in what we do, yet for some reason, generationally, Christy, I'm sure you feel this way as well, people tend to forget all of this stuff that we've learned in the past. So somehow, old people like me are still useful to you young people because you've forgotten a lot of this stuff or you haven't had the experiences we've had. So this stuff is simple, but it's not easy because you are going to have to do some work and you're not going to have to spend any money necessarily, but you are probably going to have to do some work and have some probably awkward conversations. So what we're going to talk about today is aligning your sales and marketing teams around a single goal. And you can text on your phone, don't worry. I made eye contact with this guy. What was your name? Ben. Made eye contact with Ben there while he may have been making notes, but he immediately put his phone down. Oh, Christy's done it now. Guys, this isn't school. Please fuck around if that's necessary. Because I'm going to be going on for another at least 40 minutes. Yeah, another 30 minutes. So, yeah, please feel free to text your mates. I was buying a car while Sean was talking because I don't have a company car anymore. Right, so anyway, align your sales and marketing teams around a single goal. Even better if you can align your sales, marketing, and service teams around a single goal. Service have so much to offer here, but I'd be talking for days if I was involving that whole section of the business. So we're going to talk about sales and marketing primarily, but you'll be able to overlay how service can help. We're going to be talking about the collateral that you need to make this happen, and then how to set up reporting to measure what works. Make some sense? Happy with that? 3 goals. Yeah, that's good. We should be able to do that. Here's some logos to make you trust me. Trust me? Good. The reason they're there is I've done this for all of these companies. They're all doing okay. Wiggle, unfortunately, we're spending 12 to 15 million a year, I think. I signed an NDA, so don't tell them I've told you this, on rebuilding their back-end systems. So after the work I did with them, even we grew their sales. And in COVID, my God, everybody, all of you were buying bikes. Anybody in here buy a bike from Wiggle during COVID? Or an exercise machine? Oh, you're in the minority. Oh, no, you nodded a little bit. Maybe you did. Thank you. Small commission for Johnny. But yeah, they're about to go bust. So oh gosh, no, that's not insider trading. I'm not a shareholder, but yeah, don't buy any shares in Wiggle or Chain Reaction Cycles. Don't spend £1 million a month on your CRM. Just fix it and move on. Anyway, all doing rather well. Worked with those people. You've heard of them. I've worked with hundreds of other companies. I was talking to my wife, Nicola, this morning, and she said, you've worked with thousands of companies. I don't think I'm that old. I don't think it's thousands, but I do think it's hundreds. We've certainly worked with thousands, if not millions of salespeople. No, hundreds of thousands of salespeople, because we've worked with people who've got sales teams all over the world. These ones you might have heard of. You might have been on the Eurostar, takes you to Europe. Thank God we're not connected to that properly anymore. Jesus. Right, Southwest, you voted for it. All right. My badge says the liberal elite. Of course, I'm delighted to use Eurostar. And because I'm liberal elite, I go business. Red Bull, we help them with their recruitment. Oak Furnitureland, we help them with their e-commerce. Wiggle, we help with their e-commerce. Yo Valley, we helped with their sales in retail, weirdly. I don't know how the hell they got me to do that, but we did. Fire Angel. Anybody heard of Fire Angel? Look at your smoke alarm when you get home. One of them will be Fire Angel, otherwise the statistics are wrong. There are billions of them in Europe. Appetito. Anybody heard of Appetito? Provide food to all the prisons. So, good. I'm glad you haven't. Also, old people's homes, stuff like that. But yeah, weirdly, we help them sell more because prisons need to go through a purchasing process too. Gross, really, but there we are. So, let's talk to you about Harold. This is Harold Dreyer. It's a quote from Harold, which is better beats best, which is a classic. He's German, and he's very focused. When you're in his laser beam, it's terrifying. He just captures you. And better beats best is whatever someone else's solution is that's their best. I'm going to do a terrible German accent. Jon, I will just build better solution. And so better always beats best. It is your best, I can do better. Harold runs a consultancy where they help organizations choose ERP systems. ERP is enterprise resource planning, typically costs millions and millions of pounds. Lots of organizations in Europe talk to this guy and his team about how they can roll out a new ERP system. He was finding it increasingly difficult to sell, not because he's a bad salesman, he's a phenomenal salesman, but because he was finding it difficult to get the right people in the room, and because he was finding that he wasn't having as much time with his clients as he'd like. And he was seeing a decline in his sales, and he'd never seen that in the 12 years of him running this business. So we went through and said, okay, well, let's see how your process is working. Harold is at the top of the process. He's the salesperson. He's also the instigator of everything. So we just needed to figure out what his marketing and sales teams and service teams were doing for us to be able to make Harold sell better. The problems he was seeing were, I said earlier, everything repeats, right? Have just been in a report released by Gartner in September. Gartner's the big software comparison company, like the Meerkat, but for ERP systems and software. I'm going to come over here. Hi. But yeah, in a report released by Gartner, most companies are seeing what Harold was seeing. So the buying group size has increased by 106% in the last 10 years. So if you're selling B2B, like I used to do, after I sheared sheep, I had to get a job that paid money because I wasn't shearing enough sheep, because actually 58 sheep isn't enough per day. I used to make telesales calls, and I sold laser printers and photocopiers, which makes me an arsehole. Then I got a job in SEO, which makes me even more of a disgusting arsehole. I guess my next job is in real estate. Anyway, I used to be able to sell printers really easily because I only had to talk to one person, maybe two people, the person who wanted the printer on their floor or in their department, and these printers were between £5,000 and £160,000. So it was like they had to talk to the purchasing department often. So maybe it was someone in purchasing, and I had to charm those two people. That was back in the early 90s when Sean was, not even a twinkle in his parents' eye. Really easy. And even in the time I was doing that, I could see that it was becoming more and more complicated because more and more checks and balances were being put in place so that people bought the right stuff and all of that kind of stuff. I'm sure, is anybody in sales in the room, or are we all in marketing? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so a few people in sales. Are you seeing this, that you're having to talk, particularly post-pandemic, you're having to talk to more people in a business? I know I was seeing it. Jesus, it's awful, isn't it? Like that. Why is this guy suddenly in the room? He doesn't know anything. I've been talking to you guys for like 6 weeks, and suddenly this dude, Derek, who's apparently new, needs to check what we're talking about. The fuck? Anyway, we're seeing that in the real world. It's happening all the time. This is a survey that Gartner did with hundreds of businesses. 89% of the customers that your salespeople are talking to encounter high-quality information during a purchase. Hands up if you've only got high-quality information available on your website and in your sales process. Ah, okay, so maybe there's a little spoiler there. Maybe get some of that. Only 17% of customers' total buying time is now spent with potential suppliers because it's flipped, right? Because the internet made this change. Ages ago, if I was selling you a printer, which you'd be thrilled, I'm sure, I'd be just chatting to you and helping you come to a decision that I hoped was the right one and that would earn me some commission and make you recommend me to other people. You probably weren't going online in the early 2000s to find a printer because no one had good information. You had to talk to a salesperson. Awful times for normal humans. Salespeople love talking to salespeople, but normal humans, you're threatened by us because we're going to sell you something. Nowadays, it's completely the other way. 70% of your time is spent online doing research, and so that your salespeople are desperate to have that conversation, but your customer is not ready. Your buyer is not ready. And 96% of buyers revisit at least one buying job. So again, salespeople in the room will be able to tell you that it used to be, probably 3 years ago, particularly on bigger ticket items or stuff that takes longer to sell, your customer would, or your buyer, hopefully they become a customer, would kind of go through that process in an almost linear fashion. You'd go back a step or two occasionally, but pretty much you go from inquiry through to initial conversation, maybe some discovery, maybe some exploration. Then you talk about the contract. You to and fro about the contract and the T's and C's, and then you get it sold. And at any of those places, they might drop out and go to another supplier. That's kind of how it always was. You knew where you were. These days, what happens very often is you'll get towards the contract and people will go, actually, we're not ready to buy yet. And it's like, well, what? I'm terrible at this now? I used to just get people to contract and it would be fine. Now, I have to roll back and do another couple of sections, often because there's someone new in the room. Suddenly, I had one person say to me about 4 years ago, Japan need to be involved. I'm really good at sales. I had no idea that their head office was in Japan. They had been bought by a Japanese company, and we had to go through the whole sales process again, which was worth hundreds of thousands. I had a department sitting there waiting to work on this thing, and then they got bought by a Japanese company, and everything had to go through Japan. So things roll back, and when that happens, people go online and look for more information and all of that kind of stuff. So if you're Harold or if you're your sales team, you're thinking, goodness. Pat, this is e-commerce. Pat, if we have time, I'll tell you a better quote from Harold. But Pat's quote is quite good. He was experiencing what McKinsey and Company have just released a report about. This was probably 8 years ago now, that it was a disjointed journey between discovering Pat's products. He sells T-shirts like that. Have anybody heard of Truffle Shuffle? I mean, not the thing that you do, but the company. Okay, so Truffle Shuffle was run by Pat. He was in America, bought a load of second-hand T-shirts with Coca-Cola on and all of that kind of stuff when he was 21, wore one to the pub. Everybody, when he got back, everybody in the pub said, "Oh, where'd you get that T-shirt? I kind of like it. It looks distressed," and all that kind of stuff. He's like, I've got a suitcase full. He went home, drunkenly sold everything in his suitcase for like 300 quid in the pub, booked a flight back to America, and started doing that constantly. That was how Truffle Shuffle was born. Built the website using Notepad, for you nerds, when he was 21. Had never coded before. £40 million worth of business 20 years later. Really cool business. But what he was finding was that people weren't checking out. And what we looked at is the customer journey just online changed so radically between initial inquiry and what people saw on social media. People putting stuff in their basket, and then the checkout was awful. If you were on a mobile, it was a disaster. He had a 98% drop-off rate on his checkout on mobile, and he had a 70% drop-off rate on his checkout on just desktop. So we said, well, it's probably that that's where people are having a cognitive thing where they're going through this wonderful, glorious, characterful process in marketing, and then they arrive at the hard end in sales where you want their cash, and they go, "Oh no, this doesn't look right." So cut the face off my toddler we had to change his whole website. It was a huge risk for him. He took 3 months to make the decision. We worked with him for 4 months to make it happen. We just flicked the switch on 1st of October, so in the run-up to Black Friday. He was fucking terrified. Obviously, I was terrified. I was confident about what I'd said. And it was the website he'd built the back end of, which is why we were cutting the face off his toddler and telling him, "Don't worry, by the time it's school age, it's going to be beautiful." It didn't have to wait until it was school age. Within the first month, he doubled his income on mobile, but across the whole site. So he doubled his income just on mobile compared to the whole site's income for the previous November being his biggest time. Absolutely incredible results just by thinking, how can we smooth the journey and make sure that the journey for the customer and the buyer is seamless and friction-free from initial discovery of your company through to purchase and then subsequent follow-up and love from your service team. Do any of these things sound familiar, like you might have experienced them? Or like as a consumer going through a buyer's journey and you just go, "Oh, no, I don't think so." Yeah? No? Yeah, some nods. Are any of you experiencing this in your business? Don't worry, I'm not going to chase you down. You can just talk to me afterwards if you aren't. Little tiny nods. Okay, good. Well, we can cut through some of that stuff. This is what McKinsey is saying now. Oh, by the way, these two latest surveys are really good if you need to go and persuade your boss that you need to make some changes. So the McKinsey article on zero consumers, just Google it. Zero consumers have zero boundaries. So if you've got retail and bricks and clicks, or if you've got typically marketing into sales, and people have a lovely time on your blog. "Oh, this is great." Or they've clicked your ad on social media. "Oh, this is brilliant." And then they go to the website and that's great. And then a salesperson gets involved and it's like that. "Okay, so what's your budget?" And you're like, "Whoa, I was over here thinking about how cool it would be once I've got this. You've put me in this lovely, brilliant future place. Once I've got the amazing pipes that you sell. And now I talk to the salesperson and they're, "What's your budget? What's your timescales?" Because that's what salespeople want to know. Now, they're not all like that, but often that's where we need to get you to in the conversation. People want to have no boundaries. So they want that initial conversation with a salesperson to feel like it was a marketing conversation, because then they're much more confident in taking that salesperson along on their journey as a trusted advisor. There's zero mid-range. So people want to splurge or scrimp. So, and interesting to see whether or not this resonates with you guys, but people are not happy. People want to save money, but want to spend on good stuff. So you want to save money on your food and maybe on your clothes, not necessarily, so maybe on your underwear more than the outerwear, typically is what the survey found. But you want to splurge on holidays and experiential stuff. Does that feel like that's you a little bit? I think it's kind of all of us in these times. So there's zero mid-range and there's zero loyalty. Because we can all go and find something better online, people don't stick with their existing supplier. And again, I'm seeing this even in places. So we work with an ad agency that basically does the advertising around the edges of every lawn tennis event, or the World Tennis Association, excuse me, the Super Bowl, all of that kind of stuff. They're selling adverts to Heineken around the Super Bowl and all of that kind of stuff. And what they're finding is they have zero loyalty and they almost own the event. But their customers are talking to their competitors about, can you get me a better deal? Because I don't care that it's John who sold it to me. I need to save 10%, 20%. So there's much less loyalty, which makes salespeople say this. Anybody fans of The Wire, or just me in the room? Shit. It's worth watching. I guess he's in series 2, I think, series 3. Series 1's hard. Series 2, I mean, they're all a hard watch, but get to series 3 so you can hear this guy, or just look up, actually, Mayor Thomas, I think, maybe, saying shit on YouTube, because it's great. Shit. So, okay, how do we fix it? Because I've done lots of storytelling, and we've got 15 to 20 minutes to round this up. So, we want to align sales and marketing around a single goal. Oh, by the way, you're missing the AI talk. This is, all the images I use are AI generated. I think that one's fairly good, don't you? I mean, it's not quite real, but the fingers are okay. And normally, someone who doesn't like AI, fair enough. That's fine, sorry. You keep going, I won't draw attention to you any further. Look at that over there, not that lady. Align sales and marketing around a single goal. Single goal being revenue. Or, if you measure profit, gross profit, probably not net profit, that's a bit difficult to do, but gross profit or revenue. For salespeople in the room, looking around at salespeople who I made eye contact with earlier, we're already focused on that, right? We're already focused on GP or revenue, and revenue growth, probably. Marketing are often focused on how many visitors they get to the website, and that is a colossal disconnect. You've experienced that. You did a grin. Have you experienced that? You're like that. I don't fucking care. Give me some leads. You probably don't swear as much as me because you're a very nice man. But yeah, so there's a huge disconnect. So tell marketing, this is what we need to do, guys. And from marketing, ask sales, what's your target? They will be blown away that you don't know, and they'll be annoyed that you don't know. But then they'll tell you what their target is, and you can go, oh, right, okay, that's now my goal. Because your goal isn't to get visitors to the website. It might be that that's what someone's told you, but the shareholders in your organisation or your bosses, they just want more revenue, and they want revenue growth in a time when lots of revenue is being constricted. So you have to agree on a single goal, and that's probably revenue growth. That's the one I normally use, unless it's recruitment, in which case it's candidate pool growth, so growing our pool of candidates and stuff like that. It's simple but not easy, because this is quite a difficult conversation to have if you haven't had it before, and often it's a junior person having that conversation with senior salespeople, and the senior salespeople are hacked off to be in the room with you and have got folded arms, and then you ask them what their target is, and they think, what the f*** have you been doing for the last 5 years? Have the conversation, align around a single goal, which is revenue growth. And then, bullet points, feel free to make notes, but as I say, there'll be the QR code again at the end, you can go through them. Agree qualifiers and quality of your leads. Everybody, so a lead for me is someone who visits your website and converts into someone who does a download, someone who makes a genuine inquiry, someone who gives you some of their information, maybe a phone number, first name, email address. Actually, don't just get them to give you a phone number. That'd be ridiculous. Definitely want a first name with that phone number and a first name and an email address so that you can follow up in a meaningful way. To a salesperson, a lead is often, I want an oven-ready person who's going to buy within the next 3 months, whose budget is £250,000 plus, who is going to put me in a room with the managing director, the finance director, and the operations director. Oh, there's some nods over here in the marketing side of the room. Oh, yeah. Well, agree what you've got to do, because that's the disconnect. I'm loving the fact that we've got a little bit of sales and marketing over here. But the disconnect is often, I want oven-ready leads. You can't deliver oven-ready leads very easily in marketing. So agree what the qualifiers are of an oven-ready one. And often that's a hand raiser. Someone who's come via the contact form and said, I want to talk to someone about this. These are my problems. That's way more oven-ready than that guy who's done a download of your guide on how to grow your business by 20%. That's not an oven-ready lead, which is why I shan't be calling any of you when you download this and the notes, because you're not oven-ready leads. You just want to see stuff. Maybe in a year you'll want to talk to me, but it's not right now. You just want to see the notes, right? So agreeing the qualifiers of what's oven-ready, we know their budget. Maybe we don't. Maybe a qualifier is they have a turnover of X amount per year. They have offices in our county and are headquartered here, or they have 500 employees or more. Agree those qualifiers, because then you can start to, as marketers, start to hand salespeople leads that aren't quite oven ready, but by God, they want to build a relationship with those people before they start looking. So agree the qualifiers and quality of the leads. We've, in Noisy Little Monkey, the business that I used to run, we went to the point of having a matrix of people who were good fit leads. So we had, they would get a score. So you'd get 5 points if you could be told something interesting by someone who identified as female and was under 25 years old, and you didn't react with folded arms. You got 5 points. If you reacted with folded arms, you got 0 points, because most of the people we worked with look like that row there. And sometimes people who look like me react badly to being told how the internet works by people who look like that. So you can even put that in if you need to, but really drill deep into those. How big's the company? Where's it based? How many employees? What about the person that's got in touch, right? Because you're not just selling to a business. The salespeople know about the business, but they know often way more useful facts about the person, whether their dog just had puppies, how many kids they've got, what schools they're at. They know that stuff because they're about rapport and all of that kind of stuff. So what do we need to know about the person? What's their job title? What's their seniority? All of that kind of stuff. Can we get an idea of budget? You can, on downloads and stuff, you can say, what's your budget for what is it you sell in the next 3 years? If they've downloaded one thing, on the next thing, profile them a little bit more on the second download and ask them what their budget is. If they want that bit of content, they'll give you their budget. And you're giving salespeople not oven-ready leads quite yet, but someone that is a better shape of people to talk to. What's their purchase process? Are they going to have to go through a tender, or can we help them write the tender? That's a really good way to win a tender. Are they just going to select 5 suppliers and we're just in the mix? Well, do we want to do that? Maybe. Bigger the company, the bigger the opportunity? Maybe. Maybe you don't want to do that for a smaller organisation. What's their existing solution to the problem which your products or services solve? Ask them that. The budget, purchase process, existing solution, stammering, and the person, you can just ask that with drop-down questions on a form, because once you've discussed with salespeople what good looks like, you can make drop-down categories for what good looks like. Make sense? And if it's none of the above on the category, you know they're not such a good fit. Still stick it in front of the salesperson, see if they want to call it. If they're having a quiet month, they probably do. Agree the buying stages of your process with the salespeople. Now, salespeople, and excuse me if I'm wrong on this, but 90% of the ones I meet, just like me, it's all in my head. I know what steps we go through. Can I articulate those to you, your marketing numpty? No, because it's different for everyone. Oh, I thought you said you had some steps. Yeah, I've got some steps, but it's different for everyone. It's fucking not different for everyone, and you know it. You just got to go through what those buying stages are. Here's 3 basic ones, right? Info gathering. This person is not a net buying stage. We do not want to give them to a salesperson. It will piss the salesperson off, and they'll stop calling the leads. Choose someone who's choosing a solution. Oh, yeah, I do want to call them, because if they're choosing a solution and we provide a solution like that, I want that. And then supplier selection, probably a bit late, probably missed the boat. If we're coming in and going, hi, we also sell this, we're going to be probably an also ran, unless, quick tip to salespeople in the room, you can massively disrupt the sales process. So coming in late and then them saying, yeah, come in for a meeting, and going, no, you have to come to our office. If they come to your office, even though they've invited you to theirs, and you go, no, you have to come to ours, then you're in with a shout. If they won't come to yours, then you're definitely just going along for the ride. I've seen that increase close rates by something like 82% in a business that sold consultancy stuff. Just brilliant. It's great to be there at the end, but just make them do something. No, you have to come to us. Oh, well, we don't do that, in which case we don't want to work with you. And then suddenly the scarcity and the psychology of loss, and they're like that, oh, maybe we do need to work with these guys. So that's a black screen. Great, and there's that screen again. Oh, it's because I'm turning the screen off, guys. It's user error. Always is. Any IT people in the house? Okay. Yeah, you knew it was user error. I like that Dick's pressing the wrong button. There's nothing to do with the tech. Tech's great. Agree, lead. Gosh, Dick's pressing the wrong button. That would be impressive, wouldn't it? Sorry, let's move on. Agree what we're going to do with the leads. So, marketing will, with the lead, engage passive buyers that we're not ready to give to sales because we've just agreed what a good buyer looks like and what buying stage they're at. We now know which ones are passive, info gathering, and which ones are active, they're choosing a supplier and all of that kind of stuff. You'll use different statements. I would say you're probably going to end up having 5 buying signals. Enjoy. You can laugh out loud at the jokes, even if it is, I don't know, 3 minutes after I told them. Don't picture it, though. Engage passive buyers. Sorry, couldn't resist. So we're going to continue to market them, and we're going to nurture them. So we're going to get their first name and last name, and we're going to send them 5 emails over a period of 2 months or even a month. And we're going to say, oh, you're buying product X and you're from company Y. We know the questions, because we've talked to our salespeople, that you normally ask. So we're going to give you 1-paragraph emails that help you make the decision on choosing a supplier. And maybe, probably 20% of the time, what will happen is on those 5 emails, someone will get in touch and say, actually, I do want to talk to you. So you're going to engage passive buyers for sales. You're going to nurture good fit leads until they're sales ready. And sales will, and you've just got to agree this, call each sales-ready lead within the hour, because they do that to ones that are super motivated to buy, probably, but they don't do it to some of the ones you currently hand them because you hand them shit. Or that's what they think, and maybe you are, right? But if you've agreed with them what it looks like, what good looks like, you can start giving them ones that are a bit less ready to talk to sales, but sales will call them within the hour. And what you'll see is some of those will convert into genuine ongoing leads. They will leave a voicemail. Believe it or not, salespeople in the room, leaving a voicemail really works because then they expect to get the email that you're about to spam them with. And it gives you an opportunity to get your name in their head. They're going to follow up with an email immediately because most of these people aren't going to pick up, right? Because most of the numbers you get are mobiles or direct dials. They don't recognise the number that's called, so they're going to let it go to voicemail. Sales will leave a voicemail. They'll follow up with an email immediately, and they'll do that 5 times over the period of whatever the sales team have said how they would like to work that. And if it's a half-decent lead, they'll do it over a period of maybe a week, 2 weeks. If your sales cycle is really long, maybe they do it 6 times over a period of 2 months or something like that. But that should give you, I'm going to swap back to this side now, that should give you a nice agreement between what sales and marketing are going to do with each lead and how you're going to work it. And then sales will agree that they'll record the stages of process. Now, if you haven't got a CRM, you might have an Excel spreadsheet and sales just need to update that. They're already doing it, probably in their own spreadsheet or in Outlook or in their heads, but you just need to get them to agree that you're going to do it because then you can see what actions you in marketing and they in sales take that lead people through the process more quickly, and you can refine the process. And you're going to record the amount upon close. So because you're both aligned around the revenue goal, so you know that you want to look at average lifetime value. We'll come to that in a second. But yeah, record the amount on close. So you're going to create collateral. Last AI-generated image was handshake. This is happy black woman using laptop, because it's very difficult to find inclusive stock imagery. Isn't that sad that we have to use AI to do it? It's not bad. Her fingers look okay, although this knuckle's a bit weird. And her teeth, she looks American, but her teeth look British. Well done, eh? Aye. So, with collateral, start at bottom of funnel. Everybody familiar with the funnel kind of thing? You got top of funnel, oh, I'm kind of interested. Middle of funnel, oh, I'd like to talk to sales. Bottom of funnel, I want to buy now. Start at the bottom of funnel. Sales are closing these people, and they're maybe beginning to get ready to send them a contract, or they've sent them a contract. What questions do salespeople get asked at that point? Typically, they'll hear questions like, well, what happens once we sign? How long till we start? Who are we going to work with? How long till we see results? The salesperson's got all of this in their head. If you can create this collateral so that when they send out the quote, it also has this on it, sales teams are going to love you because it makes it easier to quote. Because, as we know, people are spending only 17% of their time with the salespeople when they're buying, and that includes when they're coming to sign. They're going around and everybody's comparing these quotes and contracts in isolation. If you can put on all the facts that salespeople get asked right at the end, you'll get a higher close rate. Is there a guarantee or a warranty? That kind of stuff. And then think about friction-free communications. So many times we'll go into an organisation and we will find that marketing are using this lovely, engaging manner, and it's got a certain tone, and then all of the salespeople are writing in their own tone of voice, and Barry, who has terrible close rates, has a terrible tone of voice on his emails. And James, who's got a brilliant close rate, has a brilliant tone of voice on his emails. Actually, we should use more of his tone of voice in our marketing emails. Spend some time matching tone across both of those things. You will find a better close rate. Brings us back to that zero boundaries. It should feel like one friction-free journey from inquiry all the way through to service. Sometimes us old hoary salespeople, H-O-A-R-Y for the gigglers, although I'm unemployed now, we will just ride roughshod over tone documents. So match the wording and tone in ads, conversion pages, thank you pages, automated follow-ups, sales intro emails and sales calls, so that they're using the same language for the products and services you sell. Speed up the close. People hate having to organise their diaries. Unless, put your hand up if you love organising a diary with 4 or 5 other people. No. If your sales team aren't using Calendly, and believe me, there are some who aren't, or HubSpot, or something that enables your potential buyer to look at their availability, not their whole diary, but just when they're available, and book it, then you're losing a huge chunk of revenue. Use Calendly or something like HubSpot or any other diary sharing device. Stick it in every sales email, put it as a signature, book 15 minutes in my diary here. 15 minutes is the killer time, by the way, because no one wants to talk to a salesperson, particularly for the first time, for more than 15 minutes. They'll find 15 minutes in their diary. Book 45 minutes in my diary here? No, poke me in the eyes with spoons. And then agree reports. Thank you, AI. That prompt was business dashboard. So didn't quite work there because AI can't use words for some reason. And it's not my corporate colours. Weird. Simple but not easy. Again, difficult conversation. But we're going back to what we went through earlier. So agreeing qualifiers and lead quality is leads, which could be any old crap that comes through the website, to marketing qualified leads, which is we know that we're talking to the right person and for the right seniority, but we don't know their budget or their purchase process yet, but we feel that's something that sales might want to have a conversation with them about. And they've downloaded these things, which we would say are an indicator that they are going to be selecting a supplier of these products. At that point, I would say that's a marketing qualified lead, and it goes on to sales, and maybe they take someone from info gathering to helping them choose the right solution. That becomes a sales qualified lead. We believe we can sell them something. Supplier selection, that's an opportunity. We can sell to them. And it's breaking it down a little bit more, and it feels really complicated. I felt so alien when I did this. Felt so alien? I felt this process was so alien. I felt pretty alien when I did it the first time. And it takes 2 or 3 months to bed in, but once it beds in, you're like that, oh, this is really good. Now I can see that I'm not bothering with those 5 leads that I've qualified because they're the kind that never make it to opportunity. And what happens is you optimize your sales process, your sales guys' process, and your sales guys' process. Why are they guys? Your sales reps process, non-gendered nouns. Well done, John. Marketing will, for example, nurture MQLs. Sales will, for example, measure the mark stuff as sales qualified leads. They'll record their close rate because they're telling you which ones close and which ones don't, and they'll record the lifetime value of the customer. Customer. So they record the value of the first deal and they record the value of every subsequent deal, because often you'll sell someone something for a small amount who might come back for something for a big amount later on. And if you design all of your reports on the first order, you'll get skewed info. So getting them to record that stuff, and it might be that that's recorded by your finance system, so you don't need to ask salespeople to record it, because I assure you, we don't want to record anything. We're mavericks, we're freaking brilliant at sales, data isn't our job. It is kind of, but if you can remove some of the burden, that's really useful. And in friction-free comms, you're in marketing. You can do A/B testing on this stuff. So if you give salespeople templates, you can A/B test which one works. And the way I often sell this to sales teams is go, look, what we've got is we're using ads and we're doing nurturing. Our follow-up is, all of this is like little honeypots, and we want to see which of the honeypots brings you the most bees. It's weird, it's counterintuitive, because obviously the bees made the honey. Why would they come to a honeypot? Doesn't matter. Put that from your mind. Bees are coming to the honeypots. We want to see which ones bring you the most bees. And by A/B testing and you having some consistency, eventually we can just build amazing honeypots and we can improve your commission rate. Doing that with A/B testing makes salespeople love marketers. And when you've done that, you're in the good place. I think we've got about 4 minutes for questions. Couple of questions, if there are any. There's that QR code. I've put 37 proven tactics to drive exceptional growth there. I haven't written those yet, but I know that high prime numbers encourage people to click the call to action. 37, I think, is a high prime number. I'm not going to do whatever other high prime number is. 137 is probably a prime, isn't it? Yeah. I'm not doing that many. Questions? I mean, one would be nice. I'm married, but I'm willing to go on dates.
For you, John. That's great, by the way. In terms of the model that you've got,
yeah,
that seems great for inbound leads.
Yeah.
What about if you're an outbound salesperson? That model isn't great in my eyes.
No. Yes, you just slightly change the model. So you create the... if you're doing outbound, you make sure that you have your sales and marketing teams know the process of what the salespeople are doing outbound. Often marketing don't know what the hell's going on the outbound ones. You guys in sales are just buying lists. That's what the sales director has done or whatever, and you're just going through them. If you share with them what you're doing and what that process is, because typically for outbound there's a much better and rigid process. If you share with marketing what that process is, they can provide you with collateral that makes it better, and then they can help you nurture those leads that you don't ever get to contact into leads that will become warm as opposed to cold. So I would also say that once you've begun that, because that's bottom of the funnel stuff, right? Helping you get more appointments from those outbound calls and maybe getting more closes from those appointments. That's where I'd start. And then once I've started to do that, I'd be pretty keen on making it so that marketing was doing some of that outbound stuff. So if we've got all of these people in our database that we're going after, we're going to email them first from a named person in the business, then that person is going to follow up. But the named person in the business doesn't have to send that email. Leave that to marketing. Let them send you 1,000 emails and you follow up and you make your 100 calls a week or your 50 calls a week or whatever. That's what I see works really well at the moment, because that interruptive stuff, while we as salespeople love it, you are knocking on a lot of doors and you've just got to find the right old lady who's in that day who's going to buy your Bernardo's sponsorship or whatever it is you're selling. If you can get marketing to do some branding around it so that they're more likely to accept the call, brilliant. I also put in LinkedIn in that. So I'm going to answer this fulsomely and then stop. So LinkedIn, let's say you're focusing on a particular sector over here. So let's say you're focusing on retail. On each salesperson's thing, in marketing, I'd create loads of stuff about retail on the blog. Get the people in sales to share that on their LinkedIn profile. So if we're hitting retail this week, if someone comes and visits my LinkedIn profile, they see that I'm sharing loads of stuff about marketing and that I'm a useful, trusted person in marketing. Excuse me, in retail, sorry. And then I might start liking my initial prospect stuff on LinkedIn, so they see my face. And then if they pick up the phone, I might connect with them, but not connect immediately. You can do it through sales things, but I see better results if you slow it down a little bit. Like every sale, I hate it because I really like getting to the close real quick and winning, because I want to stand on the cadaver of that prospect once they've given me all of their budget. But if you slow it down, you tend to get more budget. Sorry, I went really sales there. I think that's probably us, right? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. Harry and Bex are up now. They're brill.